I think it's super important to understand that native and Taboola is not like social. I mean, yes, you're reaching similar people, not one-to-one overlap, but you do have the general audience using the open web. So you're kind of reaching a little bit of everything, but the formats can differ massively. You're also reaching people at a time when they're browsing to consume content. So especially like the intro article or the below, like the traditional native feeds that are below articles are incredibly powerful at bringing people in to consume your content. The average time on page that we're seeing on one of our content pages in, say, the US right now on Taboola, kind of mix between desktop and mobile, is a little bit over 2 minutes. So each click is spending on average over 2 minutes of their time to read your content. That's crazy value for money. And that's the reason that native can be used to kind of leverage insane scale when done right. The philosophy behind creative testing, I think, is first of all, understand the creatives that have to be used. You cannot just sell a product. You don't have a 60-second video like you do on other channels like Meta or Instagram where you can really explain and sell. That'll be done later in your content piece after the click. So the ad really is just, I always say the image is a stop sign to stop people from scrolling in the feed. And the headline is the reason to click. So if you want to reach seniors that have back problems, make sure that that's addressed in your headline. Senior with back problems, click here. Voila, you have a headline that is going to filter people based on the people that you want to reach. And that's kind of my testing philosophy, is always be testing, always try to outperform your top performers. It's a good position to be in. If you found something that performs, just always throw things against it at low scale and see if it works better than what's scaling. If you haven't found what's working yet, kind of dissect what is the problem here. Is it the ad? Is it the sites? Is it the content piece? Or is it the product itself? The nice thing about native advertising in Taboola is it's not a black box, and you can really analyze why things work and why things don't. I think it's important to understand what you're doing here, right? Because native really, each ad will be played out on hundreds of publishers and it will be leading to different funnels. So you have like a massively complex web of data that you have to analyze. The easiest thing is to kind of break it into pieces. You have the ad performance, you have the site performance, you have the content performance like the landing page, and then you have the offer, product, the lead form, whatever you're trying to sell. So if something doesn't work, try to understand why. If my click prices are high, it's usually because my ad CTR is low, you need better headlines and better images. If my landing page CTR is low, it's because my landing page isn't very good, or because it's a disconnect from the ad to the landing page. Work on that, try to piece together something that works better. If the conversion rate later is terrible, understand why it's terrible. Use a heat map like Microsoft Clarity to kind of piece together, where are people jumping off? Are you missing something? Is there a payment platform that you don't have on your page that's very popular in the country that you're running in? Things like that can destroy performance, and little changes will often see huge results when it comes to performance. So my recommendation is always test, never stop testing, but take apart the tests to understand where you have to put your time and energy. Don't just rebuild things from scratch because they're not working. Understand what element of your funnel is causing you issues and start tackling that element. This is the art of native advertising. How do you create something that's clicky without being too aggressive? Like, you don't want to say click here and cure your disease. That's a terrible approach. Compliance will butcher your ads and take them offline, and you get in trouble for it. Don't do it. I think at the same time, you can't just be like, buy my product. Check it out here, because people won't click. There's too much going on in the open web for them to really be attracted to just a generic ad. You need to find a middle ground. Oftentimes it's storytelling. So why are people buying your product? You start with that. So what is the problem that you're trying to solve? And then how do you get people to click on an ad while filtering them for potentially having the problem that you're trying to solve? And that's really the key here. So you'll see a lot of headlines where they're not particularly clear on what they're selling. So it'll be like, seniors do this to get out of XYZ, right? Or to work towards solving a problem. Those are very generic headlines that work because they define the audience. So seniors, men, women, whatever, right, is the target audience there. And at the same time, they have a problem in the headline that essentially filters out the people that aren't interested in that topic because they don't relate to it, or that they don't know anybody with that problem, or they don't have the problem themselves. And that's the key here. So I think it's creating stories and then hooks that kind of bring people in to read that story and inform themselves. Remember, everybody in the open web is looking for content to consume and is looking to be educated on something because they have a problem that they're looking for a solution for, or They're just curious to understand how things work. So use that to generate high CTR creatives that aren't aggressive. I think there's two mistakes people can make. First of all, it's stealing creatives. If somebody's running something and you take that something to run yourself, you are not going to be as successful as the first person to run that creative. The reason is quite simple, right? You have a feed. They are more established than you are because they launched the creative before you did. They'll be higher up in the feed. They'll get a more relevant click, and you will be left with essentially whatever's left. Not great. So I see a lot of people complaining, hey, I see that ad work there. I'm using the same ad. It's not working. Well, yeah, because that person is using the same ad. Be creative, try to iterate and make something better than the original ad. I think secondly, they don't run native ads. They run just display ads or ads from Meta that they've adapted for native. That doesn't really work. Meta is a very different platform. You have a lot more real estate to sell something and portray your messaging in the ad formats on platforms like Facebook than you do on Taboola. So my recommendation is really understand native, build ads specific to native, and don't copy other advertisers. You really don't have a limit to what you can do. What Realize doesn't allow is very aggressive, hyper-sexualized, or abusive/insulting content. Other than that, as long as you're creating an image that is compliant, you can create whatever image you want. I can give you a great example. Like one of our top solar ads in Germany was floating solar panels in space. Didn't make a lot of sense. We are not going to be selling solar panels in space, but it was a very catchy image. It looked super nice. It was AI generated and touched up by our design team. That is creative freedom 101. Like that is the definition of essentially thinking outside the box. How can you innovate in a hyper-competitive environment like solar on Taboola? And so I think that's really one of the superpowers of native and Taboola is that we can, as advertisers, really throw a lot at the wall and see what sticks. The introduction of motion ads a couple of years ago really kind of paved the way to a lot of what we're seeing today. It's the same ad format oftentimes, just with a bit of movement or something like a video or GIF without a sound. Obviously, that catches your attention. You have a traditional ad, and then next to it, you have an ad that where something is moving that is trying to sell the same product. Most likely, they're going to click on what's catchier, aka the moving image. Display was a surprise to me because when Taboola announced Realize and their whole display inventory in, I think it was February or March this year, I was super skeptical. I was like, this is never going to work. There's already Google in the space. Why are they trying to compete with Google? And right now, one of our biggest e-commerce brands is spending more on display than traditional native at a better ROI. So I was wrong. Display can work really well, and Taboola somehow cracked the code to make display work. I would try it after you've cracked native. So don't run display-only campaigns. Just start with traditional Taboola until you understand what Taboola is about, and then kind of expand using the same funnel but a different ad into their other formats. That's been working well for us. I think AI is going to change the way we buy, and that'll impact everything from creative development to optimization. I think on the optimization part, algos like max conversion on Taboola right now already take away a lot of the, small things that we have to do. We don't have to micro-manage sites as much as we have to. We don't have to bid up or down on little things anymore. That's massively helpful. AI obviously accelerates the creation of creative assets. Just use it correctly. Oftentimes we see a mix of human created or AI created but human edited creatives performing the best. So I think AI is going to be seen everywhere. I'm not an expert in AI by any measure, but we're using it on a daily basis. I'm using it on a daily basis in my work. If you're not using it, you are going to be left behind by those that are.